So let me start by introducing myself a little bit. My name is Giles Smith. I'm Head of Strategic Client Solutions at QA. For those of you who don't know QA, we're a learning services organisation, typically known for classroom-based delivery, but actually over the last years, 40% of our revenues have been driven from bespoke programs which have incorporated mixed learning or blended learning. I have with me my American colleague, just in case you hadn't noticed I was the English one, Ron Edwards. Ron heads up our virtual learning team and is responsible for our e-learning development, our mobile development, our virtual delivery, our videos, and all the different other bits and pieces that can be thrown into the mix when helping people learn and develop new skills, new knowledge, or help change their behaviours. And if you want to have a look at some of that stuff later, we're on stand 125, which is just sort of the other side of here. We've got some great examples of 3D e-learning and other areas, and Ron's going to take you through that. I've had a clicker, there it is. Really the objectives for today's session, and let me get out of the way, the problem of being tall, is firstly a little discussion on what is social learning. I think it's important for us to be able to determine what we're talking about and then determine why should we really care about it. Surely social is something that happens. It's been happening for years. We all go to parties, we all go to conferences, we all talk to our peers, to our colleagues, to other people around. And so surely social is happening all the time. So why do we need to care about it? And we'll look at that, and then we'll also look at how can we better use it in the world of learning. Sorry about that, just want to break the stand. Secondly, I want to look at social learning. How can it supplement what you're currently doing? And also look about how it can help support business and organisational objectives. One of the things that struck me, and I spend a lot of time going around and meeting a lot of organisations, is, in fact I'll tell you a slightly different story to that. I was in the States at the Elliott Macy conference end of last year, and they put a board up. Elliott's got this process, you put a board up and people write what they want to know on it. And somebody has started this concept of how much do people earn in learning and development. And people were reviewing the board and they were saying, well, actually we clearly don't earn enough. Well, actually one of the challenges I would always say to that, and this is where social learning and informal learning or self-directed learning could start to apply, is you earn value by delivering value within your organisations. And one of the challenges that could be said around some L&D divisions is that delivering transactional training, delivering programs of training is great, and we're doing some great effective learning in that space. But actually, are we really turning that into learning effectiveness for the business? Are we really making an impact, changing the way that people see and do learning? So let's just throw up, I've already tested this theory, so I'm a bit nervous about this. Let's throw up this next slide. This is a potential image of social learning taking place. Anybody want to draw any observations about what they see here around social learning? Interestingly, this is my son, 5. Comes in the bedroom every morning demanding the iPad so he can play on the iPad for about half an hour or so before he goes to school. So anybody got any initial thoughts on what this is and why this potentially represents social learning to me? Where's my mic man? I can't see him. Sorry. New generation. Yeah, one of the things that is driving the new version of social learning, if you like, rather than just social collaboration, is generations. I don't think it's the only thing, because my mum, who's just about to turn 70, she'll kill me to announce that on a live feed out on the internet, just about to turn 70, is very active on Facebook. She's connected with the whole family. But generations is definitely one part of it. The millennium generation is anticipated to take approximately 50% of the workforce in the next 2 to 3 years. And if that's the case, they're being born into an environment where actually iPads, maybe not iPads at their stage, but mobile learning, easy access learning is commonplace. When I was born, not wishing to give my age away, actually the ZX81 was about the most hopeful PC I had, and when I turned it to work the first day, actually I got a PC, although I do think the first one might have been a wise dumb terminal, but I actually got a PC and I actually got some email and I could talk to people. But that is not going to be a good enough environment for our new potential employees. They will want to come to work and be able to continue the type of communication and engagement that they have already outside of work. So we need to be prepared for the new generation, and we need to be thinking about how they're going to learn and not how we have learned in the past. Anything else? throws out to you. Okay, I'll give you a little clue. We've got an iPad here. Technology is becoming so much easier to use. You know, I mentioned earlier, my son walks into the room and hey presto, he is on technology. He's on iPad. He can already swipe. I've got finger marks all across my Samsung TV at home where he thinks he can turn channel by swiping the stage. But let's be honest, if you look at what organisations like Sky are doing in things like Now TV, Go Extra, is it really that distant to think that the next stage will be fully interactive TV that you can grab and throw up what you want, when you want? Actually not that far away. I think a story I heard was about a store in London, I forget the name of the store in London, but Ron might be able to remind me. You can go in there with your iPad, you can select a few toys, you can sync your iPad with this big iPad screen that they have, and it'll tell you exactly where all those products are in the store, so you can go and get it. So actually this interaction with technology is becoming easier, people are feeling more comfortable with it, and in addition to that, the software and the support around it is becoming a lot easier. If we're all working still on Microsoft DOS, yes, great technology in its time, we'd all be struggling to probably be communicating amongst each other. But here, we now have environments that are very easy to interact with. I'm sure you've been asked this question loads of times, because I know there's loads of presentations been given about social learning today, but how many of you are on LinkedIn? Show of hands. Okay, how many of you are on Facebook? Okay, how many of you are on LinkedIn and Facebook? Okay, how many of you are on Twitter? Okay, pretty much, I haven't seen everybody. How many's not on anything at all? Okay, so look at that. Virtually the whole audience here is on one format of social learning, whether it be related to work or whether it not. And actually not to enhance and not to embrace that sort of technology in the workplace is potentially going to put you behind. When we look at organisations currently, oh, there we go. This is what Towards Maturity are being saying when they did their survey for 2012, that actually 92% of us are looking to increase sharing practice within the workplace, but social media appears to be, but that under half are using social media to do it. So we have a tool, we have a platform, which is a many-to-many platform, an ability where you can be a passive learner, you can be a proactive learner, or actually you can either switch from being a learner to a teacher, to an instructor, to actually a mentor, an environment which enables us to go out and ask a very general question to an audience that we share beliefs with and get views back from all over, not just our organisation, but potentially all over the world. And that's a great way to build a collaborative intellect towards solving challenges and problems within today's businesses and further afield. I wanted to put this up firstly because anybody who's ever found, I didn't ask this question, anybody on Xbox, but I am. I wanted to first put this up. This is my Xbox avatar down the bottom, slightly better looking than I am, but you have to go with what you can build. But it's just a general representation that I hear a lot of people currently talking about 70-20-10. And I'm well bought into 70-20-10. I like the idea that most of my learning, 10% of my learning is in a formal environment in a classroom. It's going to give me that catalyst of knowledge. It's going to take me forward a step. But I really like the idea of the 90% is actually enabling me to go out and share with peers, go out and practice what I preach. My personal belief is I go on a learning course, I go on a learning event, and I develop potentially a new skill. We all know that after I leave that course, I start to forget things very quickly. But actually to be able to start practicing it and then revisiting it with a group of people who are experiencing the same challenges, the same experiences, not only allows me to embed the learning that I have today, but also allows me to take that learning a step further, challenge what I've heard. Teaching or learning in the classroom tells us what's already been solved as a problem. Learning on social or collaborative sites allows us to challenge that thinking and take that learning forward. A very strong competitive edge for organisations that are willing to embrace it. How are we doing so far? You're all still here? We'll take that. Anybody read Jane Hart's book? It's the Social Media Handbook. It's worth a read if you haven't had a look at it. Looked at the way in which social learning can start to be applied and embedded into workplaces. And some of the challenges you typically hear about these sorts of things are organisations saying, we're not quite ready to really release social learning. We don't want people talking openly on on our network? What might they say? What rules should we put around it? Well, we're going to talk about this later, but I'll tell you, the first rule we put around social learning when we rolled out our QA was actually use it sensibly. And I don't think we've had an instance where we've had to go on and remove content. I don't think we've had an instance where people have said things improperly. What we've got is an instance which people have felt comfortable to go in and share and embrace ideas. But we needed to build that concept, and one of the traditional ways that Jane talked about this and we looked at is, firstly, you need to encourage people to visit a site that is easily accessible. You need to get people wanting to go to your site, knowing that when they get there, there's going to be useful information for them to find. And this often comes from the formal side, the ability to be able to go in and look to see what learning events might be available to them, what options for progression in their career paths might be available to them. We then actively encourage to shift from engage and learn and really start looking at how we can embed that practice. And really then we start looking at driving more communication through it. Stop sending wide communications which deliver a learning message via email and start pushing them through your platform of choice. And virtually start to let go and let your groups own your environment and let you become, as the L&D, the facilitators of that process. This was broken down a little bit more in Jane's book, which I'm not going to talk about in too much detail, but definition between the social training concept and social learning. And in the social training, we're out there and we're pushing out that content that we think is relevant to our groups. But in social learning, we're really giving people an environment to be able to grab content that is relevant to them, engage in communication and activities which are relevant to what they want to do as an individual to progress their career. I like the bottom line. It's all about doing their jobs better, rather than it's all about the learning. And I think this strikes up back to that interesting point I touched upon earlier about, are we, and do we as L&D professionals firmly believe we are adding value to our businesses? Another opportunity to show hands. I've given up on asking you questions. The opportunity to show hands. How many of you measure your learning at level 1, an evaluation sheet, a smile sheet, a reference in the classroom? Yeah? Okay, not everybody. How many measure at level 2, maybe in assessments and Q&A sessions to see whether people have onboarded what's been learned, maybe some posts, yeah? How many measure at level 3? Who are looking for observable behaviour changes within your organisation? Yeah? Yeah, one over here. Okay, the numbers are dropping. How about level 4? That what you have done is giving a return on expectation which could be perceived to as adding the value to the business. Yep, 2. And notice the number is dwindling. And the problem is that in learning, we need to look at tools beyond just classroom that encourages our learners, encourages them to participate in learning, but also allows us to monitor behavioural change. And social learning, and the way we've used it at QA 365, not only has allowed us to target some very specific goals that we wanted to achieve, it's also allowed us to really see the behaviour change in the way people are engaging in the platform and working back at the workplace. And we're going to again touch on that a little bit later. At this point, I wish I'd picked up that glass of water I was offered, but still. Let me take another step forward. So in 2011, QA decided that we needed to look at social learning. We needed a different way, in fact, to get our message across to our sales force. Who's ever bought from or engaged from QA? Anybody phoned into the QA desk? Yeah, okay. £105 million learning organisation, over 15,000 courses, 1,500 courses, sorry, and I've got 4 people. Definitely come and see us at stand 125 after that. I think there's probably lots of things we can do. What we were noticing, one of the problems was our sales force are all over the place in terms of country locations, not in terms of attitudes and behaviours, I should add. Our product range is huge, 1,500 courses. The ability to convert those courses into e-learning, mobile learning, the ability to turn them into WebEx sessions. We offer managed learning services. We offer Sophia consultancy. We offer role mappings, analysis, fundamentally the end-to-end learning cycle. And I've got approximately 200 salespeople who have to go out and engage with 5,500 customers on a daily basis, not each one 5,500, on a daily basis to try and get across what QA does as a message. And one of the challenges we face in the organisation is if you ask most people who do know QA, they'll say, yep, we know QA, they do classroom delivery in IT courses. That makes up probably about 60% of what we really do. And the other 40% is the value add that we're able to give to our customers. But the message wasn't coming across. So we wanted to get some consistency of message. So two things. That product range, we've got a huge range of customers. We're across every vertical. Everybody potentially has needs for communication, management, IT technical courses, PC user courses. We're spread across the UK, Salesforce up and down the UK. And employee engagement, we've got to touch all those people and we've got to train them, we've got to educate them in the way and the new messaging. We're evolving very quickly as a company. Now I can give you an example. I head up a particular vision. My job was to go and train the salespeople. So that meant a trip to Edinburgh every once in a while, a trip to Manchester, a trip to Leeds, a trip to Birmingham, a trip to London, a trip to Slough and a trip to Swindon to educate those people or drag them all into one place. Hugely costly to take salespeople off the sales floor, very costly for me running backwards up and down the country, including not great for our green footprint as well. So we wanted to look at a methodology which would allow us to do educate these people better, get the consistency of message, but also achieve our business objectives. And I talked about level 4. We very clearly set out ourselves some level 4 objectives we wanted to achieve in our social platform. One was continued growth. We've got over the £100 million mark, but back then we wanted to get over £100 million. By 12% growth that meant, but also we're very big on customer service. We're really driving Net Promoter. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's a survey questionnaire, allows us to determine detractors and promoters of our business. And we want to see our Net Promoter score increase. We wanted people to say when they engaged with QA, they were delighted by the service that they experienced. It was above expectation. So we had some very clear objectives. We wanted to increase revenue, increase growth, but we also wanted to continue to increase customer engagement and the quality of customer engagement. And our solution to do that was to look at 4 key areas: quality and consistency, logistics, how we get knowledge, how we share knowledge between our subject matter experts and our sales force, and productivity. How do we get the salespeople to maximise the benefit of their time? And we turn to our QA 365 platform to do that. I'm going to pass you over to Ron here, who's going to talk a little about what we did in that space. Then I'll come back at the end and see whether we've got any questions.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Ron Edwards. I lead our virtual and e-learning practices, and I was the CCA behind this project, the Chief Community Architect. My job is to translate the business needs that Giles is articulating, translate that into how are we actually going to pull that off? What can we do with the platforms that we have, or what might we need to have in place to do that? So it involved quite a bit of planning and project work up front, and a bit of planning not only around how to build the platform, what to put in it, and all that, but designing the platform and the engagement more so of the stakeholders and all of sales and all their team leaders, involving all these people up front and pre-populating this. So I was wondering if you wanted to see what we've done. Something for a more verbal response. You guys want to see what we've done? Yeah, bring it on, they said. Excellent. So what you're looking at is kind of a cut down picture of our homepage. Essentially what we did is we built our solution on Cornerstone on Demand, which we use for a lot of our client projects, or most of them. And so it's an LMS with a social learning community. It's mostly the social learning community that we use, but also the LMS features. What we found is that the navigation into the documents wasn't as easy as we wanted. I'm going to show you the principles that we based this design on, of making it really simple to get at this information. So what we did is created some icons down the middle of the site that links directly into that type of information. We did a bit of information mapping and design architecture to put this into succinct buckets that would make sense to field sales. So market intelligence and news feeds is kind of what it says on the tin. It's more of a top-down sharing of real-time info that we are encouraging the field to share breaking news, and they have as well. We wanted to put the sales tools at people's fingertips, no matter where they are, on their work laptop, their home laptop, actually at a client. So we have a content library and templates, lots of sales tools, case studies as well. We also wanted to make available some e-learning to them for the first time. Different kinds of negotiation courses, some off-the-shelf stuff, even some stuff we built internally, making that easy. How many of you have an LMS that takes more than 4 clicks to get at the e-learning? How many of you have an LMS? How many? Keep your hands up if it takes 4 clicks to get at it. That's too many. If you're trying to roll out e-learning to begin with for people that haven't used it themselves, you want to make it dead simple. So we made it 1 click. That's a lot better, I think. Then we put some other magic in there. QA, unique selling proposition or positioning. What's our elevator speech? So we got people to share this information. Briefings, we do almost weekly WebEx briefings, get everybody together. We have more than 70 people on a session and try and make those as interactive as we can. But if you miss them, they all go in here. And then peer-to-peer learning, and I'm going to show you quite a bit there, of encouraging teams, the individual as well as team level, to share what they're learning. So I want to show you some examples of this stuff. The whole thing was kicked off by our director of sales, Stuart, where he has a video of him talking through in really informal way, setting the tone for the platform. So saying, hey, welcome, please use the platform, everybody can post and contribute. It's a really funny video. The phone rings while we're recording him, and he says, I'm doing a video right now. And just really kind of set the tone that this is supposed to be a fun but professional platform. And as Giles said, we said, be sensible in terms of your use of the platform, which you might be able to read here in some of the text. So it's essentially what's in the platform, and I'll bring it to life with some screenshots. But I've been architecting communities, online communities, for some 16 years. And I've learned a lot of lessons along the way of how to launch a community and have it be a ghost town. A lot of things you can do to build it, and they will not come, or if they do come, they won't stay. So what do you do to do the opposite? Create a sticky, engaging community. So a couple simple principles. Make it a one-stop shop. Everything that they need, the majority of what they need, in one place. So we preloaded this with hundreds of documents that they would need. It wasn't, coming soon. When we launched this, everything was there on the first day. Not only did we put e-learning that was vetted for just the sales audience, but also our own instructor-led courses that we could just give them a cut-down selection of that. So if you click on Sales Learning, it's just the resources for sales professionals and an easy way to get registered and all that. And then in terms of collaborative sharing, you don't want to mix the platforms. You want to have all of your conversation related to sales in one platform. So we made sure we're only using this for our social sharing. Of course, you've got to make it dead simple. So we improved the navigation, as I was talking about, and making nice colored buttons down the middle that deep links into different areas of the site. One-click access into the e-learning, as I said.
There's a clicker. You should use it for the live stream.
And thanks. So yeah, making it dead easy and adding value. And this is where the stickiness comes in. So we put some stuff in there they never had before. That's the e-learning. We put all of our QA authored. We have about 12 products. Put them all in there, freely accessible. And no matter where on the planet they are, they could do a live demo of our e-learning. So they don't have to ask to do that. And guess what? Some of them are actually interested in the learning itself, which is nice. And we also put new content and resources that they didn't have before. Again, the whole idea is making it sticky. Other things we did was to use some of the features of the platform. Can you read that? In the upper right, it says you're assigned training. So the first thing that we assigned to them was how to use the platform. And so that was a live WebEx session that they could choose. WebEx is integrated deeply with the platform. Then we suggested some other training. You may not have seen our induction. So we suggested that. That's the second group of stuff. And then finally, this online training in progress, if they'd actually had already been enrolled in something, then that would show up there. And if you scheduled one of the virtual sessions, then that would show up on your homepage with the ability to link right into that. So those are the things that we did to add enough value that would draw them there. Now, of course, we have to have a strategy for keeping it fresh. So we do that in two ways. Not only is the info that we're doing top-down in terms of bid support and templates and all that continuously being refreshed, new briefings put in there, but we have user-generated content plays a big role. So what we did in the launch is to distribute little flip cams to the team leaders across the country with some instructions on what to just simply to capture some video of learning. We didn't define it any further. We just wanted to see what would come back. We suggested if they needed some ideas, is we want to hear elevator pitches of your team members. So some people did that. But the first video we got was quite different. And I'll show you that in just a moment. So I mentioned that we improved the navigation into these folders on the right. A couple of features here. On the left, you see we put people's pictures in, encourage them to do profiles, and so people could get to know each other. They could also do friending in here like you can do on Facebook and so forth. You can see basic info. All the information's here available, but again, we improved the navigation into these subsets here. So this is an example of one of the first videos that we received. We made it dead simple to share the video. What we did is we said, rip the video, put the USB stick from the video into your laptop, put it on the network drive, let us know. Then my team would grab it, rip it, give them the code to embed into one of these blogs like this. So the first video cracked me up. It's this one. And what it is one of our team leaders who had one of our professional development, leadership development leaders there who was running a workshop. And they decided to do their own impromptu role play on how to sell or explore opportunities in leadership development. So the first video we got was this homemade role play scenario that kind of cracked me up, and it cracked other people up too. And it's one of the stickiest things. If you look at our top 10 postings, I looked at this yesterday, in terms of the most amount of views, it's the user-generated video postings. Out of the 10, 5 of them are the most popular. So we made it dead easy to stick the video in there. And how we did that is using the same video platform that's being used today called Anatag. And so that syncs up video with slides, and that's what's capturing my video and slides now. I have to remember to use this. But you can see what we're doing with it. And the reason why we use this, as you can imagine, is you grow a video library. You want an easy way to upload it, manage it, search it, but also make it dead easy to embed with the performance you get from streaming versus just loading a video file into a platform. So that's what we did. And you see some other types of video posts, other posts in here, like Becky put in here. She says, a lot of people ask, what's my team called Channel do, which we sell, where we sell through other partners. What did we do? One of the most sticky postings was her. So I think that's amazing. Somebody says an unmet need, they make a posting, they put it up there, and it benefits a lot of other people. So I mentioned there's a variety of different discussion types, top-down publishing of all the webinars. You've got various people putting in their own role plays and elevator pitches. But you see down the left that the different kinds of postings. You could put a forum in there, a blog, a wiki, question and answer, ask an expert. Just simply put files or links in there. Podcasts, webcasts, suggestions for improvement, all these different types have been used. And what we've done is make it openly available for anyone to post. And if it's not appropriate, which it hasn't been, but some things spur a bit of a debate, a healthy debate. Should you post things about a charity day? Maybe, maybe not. Well, that just spoke to debate, and it's in there in one of the most popular viewings. And you can see that people can put in comments as well. And you really start to bring in a face to the names across the country, which I think adds a lot of value. So that's just a couple pictures of what it looks like. You can come on our stand and see a live demo. We'd love to show you. So what did it look like after the first 6 months of launch? We launched in January. So we had 90% of the people online, 500 documents with thousands of views. The e-learning that we put up was only about 12, 15 courses, had 240 views, uses. So that was a good take-up, and so we were right. People were thirsty for learning. Our QA authored courses were accessed 66 times. In 6 months, that's pretty good. Those are mostly for client demos, so that's encouraging. Our sales briefings on just how to use the new platform, we had over 1,700 people online in the first 6 months. Not just on how to use the platform, but our briefings in general. We had user-generated content, 50 of these created in the field, and a couple of team leaders asked for our help. They brought in an expert, an industry expert. They were in one of our conference rooms. We filmed them, uploaded their slides, and put that in there. And 72 blogs were created. Partially so many because people weren't so sure how to just add to an existing blog. It's easier to create one, so a little learning there. So it's not just enough to see the stats on the documents. We wanted to survey people. We have a lot of anecdotal evidence. We ask team leaders and team members all the time, what are they finding of value? What could we improve? But we surveyed everybody just a month ago and asked, what's the value in this platform for you? 85% said it improved their knowledge of QA products and services. Who would not want to have that stat in their organization? 85% saying it helped their knowledge. That's great social learning. 72% helped them engage with other salespeople. So that's great. You're seeing that peer-to-peer learning. 68% agreed that it helps them feel better connected to the business. So we're getting that employee engagement. 38% said their win rates had improved as a result of using Sales 365. So going back to what Giles said about measurement, what we want to do next is actually find out what was the lift, what was the gain from some of these incremental sales, and to measure that. 45%, almost half say they can respond faster to customer inquiries. So imagine being on the phone and having somebody be able to look up exactly what you're asking about at their fingertips. That's the value. And 53% said their important performance had improved as a result of using the platform. I think that exceeds our expectations with just using social learning to connect our sales force. But that's not enough. We've also asked how can we improve it and make it better. So one example, oops, I keep using the wrong clicker here. So one of the examples Giles actually already shared. He travels the country, had traveled the country educating people as a certified Kirkpatrick practitioner.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, one of those. And so if there's a question about Kirkpatrick, they're calling Giles. They even ask him to come do workshops. The frequently asked questions that he gets, he puts into here and it has one of the most amount of views. So now we've got Giles 365, 24/7. It's a good thing. So far, as I mentioned, we've done some quantitative measures, some qualitative measures in terms of a survey. We've got a lot of feedback, free text, but we want to actually measure it along a lot of different continuum. So some of those include quality, consistency, logistics, knowledge sharing, productivity. What are the gains behind that? The next thing we want to do is make it more fun. So we're trying to engineer even more fun that we can put in there and probably be more video-based activities. So we're part of Towards Maturity's ambassador program. And as part of this, as you might have noticed, different stands have top tips. Ours are around implementation tips for social learning. You can get those on our stand at 150. You can take a picture of it now and save yourself a trip. Okay. And what we want to do in the last few minutes is take any questions that you may have. If you don't have time to come to our stand, you can take down our email address and ping either one of us. So I'd like to open it up for questions. We have about 2-3 minutes. Stunned silence. That always happens.
Yeah, it's quality, obviously presenting. That's all I can. There was one question which I asked at the start, which is about talent. And one of the things I didn't cover earlier, which I intended to, was why can this be so powerful for us as a tool? Well, if we think about that younger generation that's coming into businesses, and we think about the fact how they're currently engaged today, and the fact they're freed currently outside of work to seek out and gain answers and find people to collaborate with, and then we can tail that when we come into work, they'll be more inclined to go for organisations which are forward thinking, that are thinking about collaborative and sharing, that are moving away from the knowledge is king, knowledge is power, knowledge is king methodology to sharing and collaboration. Because that's an organisation which can not only be successful, but it's an organisation that you can also see yourself being successful in, sharing and working with like-minded people to achieve and develop something. And that's really important for the way we're going to be attracting talent to our organisations in the future. If we keep just churning out, your development program is these 6 courses and your communication path is email, you're very rapidly going to turn off the types of people you're going to be wanting attracting as an employer in the future. So something for us to think about in that space, and how I would be looking at how it blends into the talent program of sharing communication, getting those messages out and allowing people to build upon it, being an important part of our talent pool in the future. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. If there's no other questions, 125, but we'll be here for a couple of more minutes, and we'll see you again. Enjoy the rest of the 2 days.
Thank you.